nerds. It is Friday. Yes, I'm still counting it as Friday, even though I'm pretty sure it's like 3:30 in the morning. And that is because I haven't gone to sleep yet, even though I'm very exhausted right now. So it's not yet Saturday. So we're calling this Friday, and I'm finally going to talk about the final episode of Ms. Marvel, because I did watch it today during lunch at the camp I'm working at. Stella is also here. She really wanted to get in on the Ms. Marvel action this week. So I have my notes in a notebook because I didn't have my iPad with me. I was just on my phone. So I have this lovely notebook with the notes written in it. So we're going to talk about this episode the same way I've talked about all the other ones, just by telling you my thoughts as they happened. Welcome to essentially me live tweeting a show. My first note says, oh yeah, that's right. Last episode was just exposition, explosion, which is very true. And then immediately we hop into the very annoying damage control being like, oh, these children, they caused this explosion. Really? Really? You literally are the ones who blew the place up. Okay, it was your drone, not Kamran's powers, that caused that explosion. Just putting it out there. And then my next note says, Bruno is so good. And that's very true. And so is Nakia in this. And so are Kamala's parents. And I also wrote, and this I stand by, seriously, all of the MCU heroes have amazing friends. Friends that they probably don't deserve. Not that you need to deserve friends. Like, that's not the way that it actually works. But I do think about, like, all the things that Rhodey does for Tony, like, all of the stuff that he puts up with, and just, like, how hard and fast they are. And for Steve, there's Bucky and Sam, who I recognize, like, Rhodey obviously, like, eventually becomes a hero, too, and so does Bucky, sort of, and Sam does as well. But that doesn't make them any less of great friends to a superhero to start off with. Pepper, also, absolutely Banner. Like, people just have really, really, really great friends who help them out with anything and everything at all times and are really awesome. And the MCU is very, very lucky that characters have pretty much only good friends. Like, sometimes they have not so great family members, but I was trying to think about a character who has a friend, like a confidant, who ends up being bad news bears. And that doesn't really happen. Like, sometimes you've got family who ends up being not great, but almost everybody's friends are pretty awesome. Like, with the sole exception of Captain Marvel, if we consider Jude Law's character her friend. Because he wasn't great. But other than that, everybody's got great friends. And then Kamala's entire family was just like, yep, you're the superhero. That's great. We're very happy. Just totally accepting. They did seem to, like, glaze over the whole, like, magic is real thing and Kamala's a superhero. And I don't know if they're just, like, progressive and therefore chill, or if we missed the freak out because Kamala's mom, like, told them about it before we saw the scene where Kamala was revealing it. But it was interesting that they were just like, yep, that's great. And then Nakia finally speaks to Kamala again, which was wonderful, but not good because it's mostly because Bruno was missing and it's an emergency situation. So she was like, we gotta be over whatever it is that was going on between us because Bruno is in fact missing. And then Kamala's mom makes her the superhero outfit. And I love it so much. The outfit is so cute. And the fact that her mom just, like, made it for her or got it made, it's so nice. What an amazing, incredible, supportive family that Kamala has. Like, that is so cool. And then Bruno and Kamran are sort of starting to get along, and they're on the run together because Bruno is entirely too good, and as such a good friend is even helping Kamran. And then they go hide out in the mosque, and thank goodness for Nakia, because she is so smart and so good. And the sheik at the mosque is also amazing. Like, I love everybody at the mosque. And the attitude they have towards damage control is perfect. And Nakia does this whole thing where she's like, no, don't go in there. Please, just don't. Okay, it's holy. All right, fine. Just don't hurt him. And definitely damage control is like, yes, she's been hiding Kamran, the person we're after. And then she opens the door and it's her boyfriend. And she's like, please don't tell my mother that we're dating. She'd die if she knew this was my boyfriend. Hilarious. Like, peak distraction. Nakia is so freaking smart. And then they all go to the school where Nakia and Bruno and Kamran and Kamala and Kamala's brother Amir. And then, surprise of surprise, Zoe, who we haven't seen for a hot minute, shows up and she's like, yes, I've known Kamala was Nightlight all along, because I saw her up close when she saved my life, and I, gone to school with Kamala forever, so I knew who it was. But I wasn't going to reveal her identity because she should be able to do that when she wants to, which I thought was really sweet. And so then Zoe's also in on the plan to stop damage control from getting to Kamran, and we get another Kamala plan, and I've missed those. All of her drawings on the whiteboard, all of the artistic shots, and all of the super elaborate yet highly effective planning that happened. So good and so fun to watch. And then they finished the plan, and I suddenly came to the realization that, oh yeah, no one's told Kamran that his entire family is dead. Like, the whole evil old guard, otherwise known as clandestines, are in fact gone. And that's gotta make me suck. What a bummer. But then they enact the plan because they've decided they're not going to tell Kamran right now, because he's got these brand new powers that he clearly doesn't have very good control over. And the last thing you want to do is make a person who has no control even more emotional. So they enact the plan, and then they use Zoe's social media presence for good to have her be like, I'm in the school with my friends and they're being attacked by damage control. And we're just a bunch of high schoolers. And yeah, 2 of them have superpowers, but that doesn't mean anything. They're being targeted and they're actually really nice, and this is ridiculous. And allow me to broadcast this to all of my followers so that damage control needs to do some damage control on their reputation. And then they do all sorts of things, like hit them with softballs and do an elephant paste science experiment that essentially fills an entire wing of the school. Very impressive. And also totally awesome. And then Kamran has to face off against somebody, and his eyes glow yellow instead of purple, which I thought was cool. And he figures out what happened, like Kamala ends up having to tell him. And you realize that for all of the things we love about Kamran, he was still raised by the evil old guard, and therefore has some of their violent natural tendencies. And so when the opportunity presents itself, he chooses violence. Deadly violence. But luckily, Kamala is there to stop him and to hold him off and to try and keep him a little bit more level. And then she set him big in, which is the word she uses in the comics. And then she grew really, really big, and it was super cool. A beautiful moment, something I'd been waiting for while they're fighting all of the agents who've shown up at the school. So they're outside and they're fighting. There's a huge crowd gathered. Kamala has embiggened to stop the crazy sonic weapon that they were using, because bullets weren't working because they were blocking them. So they used this sonic weapon, and they went to use it another time, and she embiggened and smashed it, and we all cheered. And then a whole fight breaks out, and there's some really cool things, but there specifically was a camera shot that followed one of the agents who Kamran like knocked down, and then the shot goes under the Humvee to follow Kamran as he comes around. And that shot in particular was sexy. Like, it was just very, very well done. I liked the movement and the angle. And while I was watching the show, I was like, ooh, wow, I really liked that camera work, which I don't say often, so it was worth writing down. But poor Kamran was having a rough time because his mom essentially like threw all these powers at him and no control. But luckily for us, Kamala is there to put them in a protective barrier and to talk him down and then help him escape so he can go to where the red daggers are and hopefully learn some control and become the better person that we totally know he can be. He just got a little bit out of control. And like, that happens. Sometimes you get emotional and you just need to scream. And unfortunately, if you are a superpowered teen, your scream maybe causes giant sharp crystals to grow that might injure people, which is a bummer. But we also understand the need to scream. And so does Kamala. So she just helps him out and gets him snuck away because she is the best. And then the lady that we hate from Damage Control essentially gets fired. So it all seems pretty hunky-dory. What a wonderful way to wrap up the series. You get some social media clips about everybody talking about Nightlight and how much they love her and how cool it is that Jersey City has a hero now, and that also they have a hero who goes to a mosque, and like the mosques are celebrating, and it's really, really great. I love that popular opinion. And then she sits out on the roof with her dad, and he talks about her name, Kamala, and how it means Marvel, and she's their Miss Marvel. And that also, cute as heck. Just really, 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 really cute. And I loved it. And I loved the way that that was wrapping up. And then we have a final Nakia, Bruno, and Kamala scene. They're back to being really great friends. And then Bruno just like casually mentions that he was talking to Kamala's brother because he was like, oh, do I have powers because I am also a Jinn? And they were like, okay, but Kamala, here's the thing, is that your genes are different than the rest of your families. It's like you have a mutation. And then I wrote, excuse me, did you just X-Men theme me here? And the answer is yes, they did. They say the word mutation and then they play the opening lines of, I think it's the 90s X-Men theme. I see what you did there, and the jury's still out on how I feel about it. But like, we also need the X-Men again, so like maybe it's fine, but also the jury's still out on how I feel about it. And then in the post-credits, I think that Kamala and Carol switch places somehow. Like some sort of weird teleporting thing happens with the bangle, and then suddenly Carol is in Kamala's room. And I'm pretty sure that it actually was them transporting and switching and not some sort of metamorphosis, because like Carol looked around and saw all of her own face immediately and was like, oh no. So that'll be interesting because Miss Marvel, of course, is back in the Marvels, which has Carol and Monica Rambeau. So I'm really looking forward to that even more now with the ending of this. The show was awesome. Would highly recommend. Super, super enjoyed it. I wrote on here it is 11 out of 10, and it would be a 12 out of 10, but there was no Scott Lang. And also for that little bit of time they didn't do the fun version of text messages. Those are its only downfalls. But I did feel like I was teased a lot for an Ant-Man that did not appear. Other than that though, a very enjoyable episode. I'm definitely too tired to edit this into anything more cohesive than what it was. So I'm just going to cut down the beginning and the ending and post it. And I'll see you tomorrow.